Good morning, everybody. Welcome to our LinkedIn Live panel. I'm excited to welcome our panelists for this session, and I'll let these wonderful ladies introduce themselves. Jenni?
Hi, I'm Jenni from Modern Family Law.
Selena?
Hi, I'm Selena, and I'm also from Modern Family Law.
Ashlyn?
Hi there, I'm Ashlyn. I'm with Harrison Family Law.
And Meghan?
I'm Meghan from the Drexler Law Group.
These are wonderful LLPs. Most of us have been practicing for a year, and we thought that it would be a good time to do a one-year check-in and sort of kind of talk about pros, cons, and just our experiences. On that note, I guess I'll start with Meghan. What inspired you to become an LLP? I'm sure we've asked you that before, so if you don't necessarily want to answer that one, that's fine. But also, it's kind of a two-parter. What has the first year meant for you personally and professionally?
So I became an LLP. I knew about the program when they were starting to talk about it, so I was interested. I think for me, I'd done a lot of, not pro bono cases clearly, but like I had volunteered a lot, family law day, all that kind of stuff. I worked with an attorney that did do pro bono cases, so I did see that middle ground that needed help. I always saw people that had, like, you think it's so easy to find the documents to file. You think it's like the back of our hand for us. But a lot of these pro se parties, it's just life changing for them. They're like, oh my gosh, I had no idea. But the first year for me, like professionally, I've probably grown more than I had in the 20 years I was being a paralegal. I have learned so much, and I actually feel a little bit overwhelmed at times just with the responsibilities and the research I have to do, but I feel like I'm making a difference. Personally, it's definitely been a change. I'm older, my kids are older. It was the perfect time for me to now be working late and they can make the dinners. I'm not going to do that anymore. But I definitely the biggest takeaway for me is I have learned so much in this past year. And some of it has made me a better paralegal on the cases that I'm still doing a paralegal on. Like, I understand what's going on. I feel like I'm better for it. So that's really what it's meant to me.
Nice. What about you, Ashlyn?
I mean, echoing what Meghan just said, all of that. Also, I mean, my daughter just turned 16 today, so it's that, we get a little bit more freedom in our flexibility. But I think this was, for most of us, I think this was like a natural next step for us. I think all of us that are in that first and second cohort, we were all very seasoned, experienced paralegals, and I think this was a very natural transition for us, or not natural. We are learning still, and we've got green legs still, but I think it was just that opportunity to pioneer this program and be able to reach that clientele that hasn't had a voice or opportunity to have representation in the past.
I like that. I can see that. I feel the same way. On that note, Selena, how have you seen the LLP program make a difference for clients in Colorado?
So also to echo both Ashlyn and Meghan, it has opened the door for so many people to actually receive legal services. There is that great need, that middle ground where people are just struggling on their own. Like Ashlyn said, we know where the forms are, we know what the process is, we can know it in our sleep. But somebody going through this for the first time does not have that advantage. And I've worked with a lot of people who, they didn't need a big litigated divorce or custody case, and having the opportunity to have somebody guide them and to show them the process and to make it work efficiently has been so amazing to see that for them. A lot of times they've been up against technology or up against the court process and just not knowing how to properly file. And of course the clerks can't give them advice. So just being able to just bridge that a little bit has been nice.
I guess Meghan and Ashlyn have sort of touched on that. Did you want to add anything more to that?
Yeah, I do. So the difference of the difference I've seen in the LLP program for me is just the amount of people who needed help preparing their documents, and they just didn't know what to do. And being able to go in there and being like, this isn't how a parenting plan should look. This is how a separation agreement should look. And having them get the orders that they need for their families to move forward and not have to come back and come back and come back. Because as you all know, the JDFs are very skinny and oftentimes leads to a lot of trouble and leads to a lot of misunderstandings and ends them back in court when it doesn't have to be that way. So just being able to make that difference in that way too.
Did Meghan, did you have anything to add to that?
No, I mean, I do a lot of unbundled, and I think that's been really helping. And that is exactly with the documents. I mean, it's just so interesting seeing what they're finding and trying to say that they need to file. And I'm like, wait, no, you should just file this and this. And when I'm even looking at the court's website as a legal practitioner, it is so confusing if you've never been divorced. Like, it is so confusing to figure out what you're supposed to do. And I will like look at their documents and be like, make sure you're adding this, make sure you're adding that. All you need to do is do this, proposed order. And I get all the time, oh, making me feel so much better. I had no idea. And sometimes it's not that legal guidance of telling them the law. It's more like, make sure you file this, make sure you file that, make sure you do a notice to set uncontested. They have no clue where they're supposed to go. I think the court facilitators do help them a little bit, but they also are coming in group settings. They're not getting that one-on-one, and they still get a little overwhelmed by what they're supposed to do and how they find it. So I think that is it's been a huge help to people for me. And I get a lot of thanks for that. That one I makes me feel better.
Nice. I think that we get a lot of calls for document prep and document review. So it's nice that there are people out there that are able to offer that service for people. You're right. The family court facilitators really help, but I feel like sometimes they're just kind of overwhelmed. So I guess this is one for everybody. I don't know who wants to go first. Maybe Ashlyn. Can you share a story where you felt the LLP role helped bridge a gap to access family law services?
Absolutely. I've actually recently partnered with Colorado Legal Services. So I'm taking on cases from Colorado Legal Services referred to me. And I think, that program in and of itself, they're desperate to try and get these people representation. And there's a few of us out there, the LLPs, that are willing to take on these cases. So, I'm taking on cases that, these parties were never able to afford representation. And they're coming from domestic violence situations. And I guess what the most rewarding part of it is most of my clients, whether they're Colorado Legal Services or if they're privately retained, they're all just so grateful for the assistance, and that's rewarding for us, but also, I think it touches on just the need for these people to just have some guidance through this process.
What about you, Meghan?
I just pretty much just basically what I had said, just like getting everybody through the court process. I think that's just been the best part of this entire program. Really helping people out. I wish that I had more pro bono stories. I've done more like signing up. I have December. I'm doing that financial clinic. I did do family law day, so I'm kind of getting my feet wet with that. Unfortunately, we don't do pro bono at the office right now, so I'm really going outside of it to do more of volunteering and all that. So I haven't really had a case where I really truly felt like they couldn't afford an attorney. I think that is kind of one of the pitfalls I'm getting, just in terms of somebody's interested in me because I'm less an hour. And I get a lot of that. And I do have experience as a paralegal. I do understand it, but those cases are a little bit more overwhelming. And I feel like they just want me because I'm not $450. And some of them tell me that. And I'm like, yeah, well, you're going to need an attorney. This is getting a little too much. So I'm hopeful that, the more unbundled that I do, that's where I'm getting the lower end one. I'm going to see a little bit more of what I believe the LLP program should help.
And when you're doing your unbundles, do you do like trial prep and exhibit preparation for them too, or is that sort of
Yeah,
outside?
it depends on what they want. So the unbundled is a little bit more driven by the client and what they need. So basically, I'm not tracking any of the deadlines, but they will let me know. And each attorney has different, they do the unbundled as well. For example, we have one right now that is going to be prepping for a trial. And one that I'm doing right now, I'm helping with the separation agreement and parenting plan because they've actually gone to several mediation sessions, but she wanted somebody with legal experience to look it over. And there were a couple of things that I thought, I was like, I would not say that in your parenting plan. let's define that language. So it just is driven by them, and they always have the option to move to full wrap if they end up wanting one of us to go to a hearing with them. So it's just really driven that way. They decide when they need me and when they don't.
Still access just the same, and it's still a good service to offer. So we appreciate that. And what about you, Selena?
I would say that this past year, I've had a lot of clients who are in the realm of gray divorce. And so on that end, they have limited means as well. They're oftentimes on a fixed income, but they have assets to divide, they have a whole life to divide, but I'm seeing more and more of that. And so my story, I suppose, is about one of my clients. They had been married for, I think, 30 plus years. She was in her later 60s, and she was trying to navigate the divorce on her own because she had done everything essentially. And so she thought she could just wrap her arms around the party's divorce and do everything for them. But she was getting rejection after rejection, and she was getting highly discouraged because she didn't understand how to effectively represent herself and move the case forward. So, and she couldn't afford to pay an attorney. Yeah, they had, a retirement and a home, but that's all they had, plus a fixed income. So affordability was important to her. And I was able to step in, help her prepare documents, guide her through the process. They did have an agreement. They weren't fighting for anything. They were just trying to divide up their property and their assets. But even in that note, having an agreement and knowing what you want still doesn't help you get through that system. It doesn't help you push you through the court process. And so I was able to do that with her. But I'm also seeing, again, more and more gray divorces recently that need that help too. So on the other end, I think that's part of bridging the gap too, is they couldn't otherwise afford services, and they knew that they wanted to divorce and do it amicably, but divorce nonetheless.
Nice. I've noticed that too, that I've had a lot of silver divorces, gray divorces coming through, and those ones are a little bit tougher to finagle, especially if they're already they're already in retirements or in pay status and things like that. And you're like, wait a minute, we need to look at Social Security. So yeah, I totally get that. Those ones are tough ones to swallow when you're working on those ones. What about you, Ashlyn? Did you have anything?
Are we still on how
Did
we
you-
help bridge that gap?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, did you mean me, Kris? Sorry.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I was like, that's okay. Ashlyn could take it. So one of my favorite things to do, first of all, I hear Meghan 100%. Like, there are two types of clients. There are the type that cannot afford an attorney and can almost barely afford you, but really desperately need your help. And then there are the type that don't want to spend the money and can't afford an attorney, but want to hire you. My favorite are the ones that, everybody's great, but my favorite are the ones that can't afford an attorney and they would be completely on their own because they are like, I feel like they're in the greatest need. And so I've had some really great custody situations lately where, let's say the client comes to me and the court process is overwhelming. Their life is overwhelming. They're not seeing their kids. It's just very emotionally charged, very everything. So I get to be the calm in that storm, and I get to advocate for people, and I get to slow things down and focus on the goal and make some type of sense out of chaos. And I love that. So
I like your enthusiasm behind that, Jenni. You are definitely a very strong advocate for your folks that are definitely going through some parenting time issues. I envy your enthusiasm on those ones. I appreciate that. So I guess this one goes to everybody, and you can answer in any order. What has been your biggest challenge in the first year as an LLP? Now that we're a year in, and I know that we've kind of had baby steps up to this point, but do you guys see a biggest challenge, or is there one that keeps recurring?
Mine is really moving. It's been the one that's been going on for the whole year, and I think that a lot of other paralegals that are very experienced, I think everybody here has a lot of experience as a paralegal, is I'm doing both. And that is so difficult. It is really difficult because I think attorneys are so used to, if they're doing something over here, I can do so many tasks. Let me pull that email. Let me quick draft this. Let me do that. But if I'm in a 2-hour mediation, my email is blowing up, my cohort's blowing up, and it's hard to balance the responsibilities, and the expectation has had to change. I feel like that's been really where I've had to have my voice and really put out there that, like, hey, I'm behind on sworn financials because I just did a 4.5-hour mediation. I can't do both. So I'm still kind of figuring out how that is going to look going forward. I love some of the paralegal cases I'm on because they're ones I can't LLP on. They have little trust issues, all sorts of different stuff that, is a more higher asset case that the attorney does. But at the same time, doing the both, that's really just the struggle. I'm hoping in a year I can update you and say I figured it out somehow.
Yes. Yes. When you get there, let us know.
Yeah, that's hard. And I think we can all agree that there aren't that many experienced paralegals that want to be a paralegal. Most of us have begun the LLP process or have become one. So it's very hard to hire somebody. You're having to hire people that don't have any experience and spend the time training them, which is fine. But I have like 1,000 deadlines and I need like a good paralegal to like pump out some financial statements.
Yeah. Jenni and I had this conversation not too long ago that the experienced paralegals have now become LLPs, and we kind of left this vacuum behind us that these roles all need to be filled. So yeah, I get that. I get that. That's tough. What about you, Ashlyn?
I agree with Meghan. That is it's a fine balance, right? But also I think for us, we kind of want to spread our wings a little bit and step out away from the paralegal role and focus mostly on our license. So I think that is really challenging. But also, I think one of the other challenges is just like globally, the familiarity of our program, whether it be with our judges or, colleagues or the public for that matter. It's just, it's so new still, and just trying to gain more visibility on the program, I think, and for people to get a little bit more adjusted to who we are. I think that is a challenge that we're still trying to overcome.
I'm hoping that in another year we'll be able to come back and ask this question again, and maybe we'll all say, hey, we're drowning in work, everybody wants to hire an LLP, and the word is out and everybody knows who we are. I think that would be amazing. Also, wearing the two hats, the paralegal and then the LLP hat, that one is really hard. I think we've all sort of struggled with that one too. What about you, Selena?
So I feel like sometimes we've been doing this forever, and sometimes it's like we just got our license last week. But on that end, I would say time management, making sure that we're taking time for ourselves, because a lot of us, like you all know, we're all seasoned previous paralegals. So we know exactly what we need to do when we get our hands on a case. And so we will drive our days to get our stuff done, because we're so used to being that, that brick house, that firepower. And oftentimes I'll forget, oh, I need to get up. It's been 8 hours. I haven't even had lunch. So, just making sure, like, that's going to be a consistent challenge, I think, for everybody, but just learning what your boundaries are and making sure that you're taking care of yourself too. Because all of us are passionate about helping our clients. I mean, it's why we do this. It's why we advocate so strongly, but then we forget about us and taking care of us. So just remembering to take care of yourself, I think, is going to be something that I'm working harder for, or at least trying to fix this coming year.
What about you, Jenni?
So when I'm listening to everybody, all I can think of when I was a paralegal, and I know you guys probably know this feeling, where you like shoot up in the middle of the night and you think you missed a deadline, and then the blood rushes out of your body, and you're like, my attorney's going to kill me. Well, now you are that person. So I still have that pressure. I don't want to let myself down. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
before, when I've worked with attorneys, they didn't understand that. They're like, well, it's my license on the line. Why do you care? But it's my reputation, my work ethic, my whatever. So now that it is our license, like I feel that extra pressure, that responsibility. So yeah, it's not a bad
I,
thing, but
yeah, I feel the same way that all of you guys feel. I feel the same way. Like it's really that line that you have to figure out how to walk. Like take care of yourself, meet your deadlines, but also take care of your clients. It's tough. It was tough. It's been tough. I guess on that note, it's a good segue. You all talked about working for attorneys and how these, how they've had it so good when you were a paralegal. So I guess in this role as your LLP, being an LLP, how has your role changed the way you work with attorneys, paralegals, and clients? I'm sure we all know how it changes with clients, but maybe even for court staff. Have you guys, what have your experiences been since you've become an LLP? Anybody can start.
I have a couple, like kind of real world examples of like interacting with other attorneys. One of my biggest ones, and it's funny because an attorney here that I work for, she was like, I kind of enjoy when they send you these emails kind of trying to bully you or educate you, and you have more legal experience in the fact that like I know how the process works. So I've had that interaction a lot. They're not necessarily rude, but I do feel like sometimes they treat you like a baby attorney that doesn't even know what an initial status conference is. You know, you don't know what an MPSS is. And I'm like, look, I just got my license, but I have been working in family law for over 20 years. So I've had a lot of that in terms of opposing counsels. I also have a very interesting like interactions with the attorneys I work with, because it's always been everything I do is how they want it done. And so when I'm co-counseling with them, I'm trying to find my own voice. And that's a little different. Like they'll just be like, well, I like to do it this way. And I like to tell a client this, which is great. But I'm like, well, what I'm doing is not wrong. This is how I want to do it. But they're so used to my work product being representing them. And it's like, that's why I do the sworn financial that way, or that's why I do a motion this way. But I find that kind of a little bit of a battle. It's not bad. It's just, our role has changed.
Right.
That's just very, very interesting to me. And it's been interesting with dealing with other paralegals. And then another one is dealing with other LLPs, because I think if anybody else here is doing a dual role, I feel like I have to send emails that I'm just like, I'm not the LLP on this one. It's so confusing, to just kind of like, wait, can I talk to Meghan about it? Or is that the attorney she's working with? What role are you in? I think that does get confusing to clients as well as opposing counsel and the court, because they'll be like, you can do this pretrial. No, I can't. I have not been retained on this case. So that's my kind of experience on that.
What about you, Ashlyn?
I can't say that my approach has really changed, other than, obviously me representing my clients rather than just being support staff. But I've had really great experiences so far with the courts, with counsel. It's been great. Like I've been very well respected. It's been well received. So I think I might kind of be the outlier of, I haven't had any bad experiences with it. And, people have been very supportive, and compliments. We've received a lot of compliments on how I'm handling the case. I think I'm going to go ahead and give her flowers. Patricia Martin, as a mediator, has been so wonderful in supporting us and in making sure that she reaches out to us afterwards and saying, you're doing a wonderful job. You're doing great. You handled this case so well. So I don't know that anything's necessarily changed more than, I guess, receiving the recognition of work that we've put in, and just recognizing that for the most part, we do know what we're doing.
It's nice to have somebody to champion our cause, especially afterwards. You know, you don't really get that. It would be awkward to do that during mediation, be like, hey, you're doing a good job. Well, thanks, my client appreciates that. What about you, Jenni? Have you had any weird experiences?
So for me, my main experience is a lack of understanding of our role, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see that as good or bad. It's maybe it's good in some ways because then it's my duty to educate that person. So at the end of the day, I have Rule 207.1 on my desk. I carry it with me. Like I know what I can and cannot do. And the more I feel solid in that, the less I care what other people think I can and cannot do. And that's just true because I've had like a family court facilitator say, well, you can't do that. And I'm like, well, here's the rule. And I explained it. So it's more of a lack of knowledge maybe or understanding or interpretation of the rule. So I'm hoping that as time goes on, it becomes a lot more clear to a lot more people.
I hope so. I think that the consensus in at least El Paso County, I think that the judges are going to start sending out new CMOs where they kind of delineate between attorney and LLP. So maybe that'll help to educate people. So when they actually get their CMO, even if they don't have an LLP on their case, they can be like, oh, look, here's a reference to LLP. What about you, Selena? Anything new?
I would say it's a mix of both, but mostly positive, mostly good. I've had really great interactions with the court, with the family court facilitators, with mediators who were so excited with how prepared I was in advance and during the session. And of course, you've had a few some of us have had some bad experiences where not necessarily super aggressive, but more so testing what we knew, testing if we were able to actually do our job and represent or catch this or catch that. But I think it's made me a stronger advocate and basically just letting them know I'm part of the equation. I'm in this space. I'm able to do these things and I'm looking at disclosures just like you're looking at disclosures. I'm finding things just like you're finding things, and just making sure that that we show that we can do the job. There's still a lot of people who still don't know about us, even in our own legal community. And so I'm looking forward to sort of changing that as we continue on, for sure.
On that note, what would you like to see for the future of the LLP program? Start with Jenni.
Oh, hey. So for me, I'm going to sort of echo what we've previously said about the fact that, most people that wanted to do this already tested, right? But what I'm hoping for is the program gets so strong that wave just comes back in. Like I love my license and I want to protect it. And every day I'm hoping that really qualified people take this test and want to do this. So for me, all I can hope is for strength of the program. And the way that I do that for myself is I focus on what I'm doing and trying to do it the best to my ability so that I can do my part to keep everyone's license safe. You know what I mean? So
yeah. What about you, Selena?
I'm just excited. I'm excited for more people to join, like Jenni said, but also just I'm excited and ready for more people to know that we exist and just a little bit more acceptance. Not that they're not accepting, but just more awareness. Definitely want people in Colorado to know more about us as well. Every time I get a new client call, I'm always educating on this, and then hopefully they can tell people about it and spreading it that way. But just ready for that fire in the bushes to spread the awareness that there is another option.
What about you, Meghan?
Pretty much mirroring what everyone's saying is I definitely want to see more people working towards becoming an LLP and having that be a goal. But I also would like to see, at least in El Paso County, that's primarily where I'm practicing, see some of these other firms really take on LLPs, encourage and employ them, because I do feel like certain firms, it's not that they're disrespectful, they don't really understand what it is. And then they have their long-term paralegals that don't want to leave, but these people would be so beneficial to become LLPs. So I would really like to see it grow that way, and also have the community really come together on training, offering, people internships, because really we need that experience. We can learn all we want, but to get these more LLPs and to get good paralegals, we need to start having the internships just like they do for attorneys. I think it's so beneficial. So I want that equality too. We are equal to attorneys. I think some firms are not offering salaries or anything similar in the benefit package for an attorney, but we're the same. Like, we have that ethical duty to a client to get back to them if it's in the middle of the night and it's an actual emergency. So that's just some stuff we've discussed a little bit. And I think there's progress coming, but I'm hoping it continues a little bit more.
I like that. I like that idea, the internship. I think that it would be nice to have a protege to sort of bring up and bring into the ranks. I think that's a fantastic idea. What about you, Ashlyn? Do you have any hopes and dreams for the LLP program for the future?
Yeah, I think it just comes down to, I wanted to gain visibility, and I want the public to recognize LLPs as trusted practitioners, and for everyone to just be kind of familiar with the program, and that we're a respected option for family law. I can't wait to see that eventually, but we don't have to explain what we do. It's a common term.
It'll be interesting to see what happens if the rules change here in the future. Being able to examine your client, on the stand and actually appearing in court with them, and feeling like you're doing something better than just sitting on the sidelines. I think that might be maybe on the horizon. We'll see what shakes out. What advice would you all give to others considering becoming an LLP?
Just do it.
Doesn't have to be too in depth. Just keep it short. Just do it.
Do it.
I think that goes with what Meghan was saying too. There's some really good paralegals out there still, and we could really use them in this program. And I hope they would just do it.
Yeah.
Join us.
Yeah.
And I think there's a lot of support out there for them too. And I think we keep trying to make sure they know, like, you're not alone. Like, we all went through this, and the first people that went through it didn't even know the test was gonna be. So that was tears were shed. I have one person here who is, starting the studying for the LLP. She's going to take it next November. So I think it's just, you got to just go in there and know that there's such support throughout the state of Colorado from all the LLPs that we want you to succeed. And like Ashlyn said, just do it. It's hard. You sweat, you cry, you're worried, but you can make it through.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I agree with all of that. In one sentence, what does the LLP program represent to you in the first year?
Does it have to be a sentence? It could just be one word.
It could be one word. Could be one word. Absolutely. Challenging. I like that. What about you, Jenni?
Hope.
Meghan?
I would say change.
Ashlyn?
I think it's historic.
I like it. I have to echo all of that. I would say hope, progress. Yeah.
All of the above leads to progress.
Yeah, I agree. Well, thank you all so much for being here. I think we've hit our time. It's 11:30. Thank you for joining us for our 1 year in, and I hope that you all will join us again, and have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
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 Thanks, guys.